Good morning, good morning. Today we're going to take a look at XRP, and we're going to then jump over to some liquidity and the Sigma coin. So, all right, let's jump over, actually start with our 3-day. So great candle thus far. I mean, talk about a massive hammer candle where you can see this huge buying pressure step in and absorbing that discount that we got yesterday from XRP's price action. Note that we are still green down here, so we're looking good, right? So this guy was flapping back and forth between green and red, but it was able to maintain that green setup there. And now we're just kind of looking here on the short time frame, still pretty, close to possibly flipping back. But if we have a really good next couple days, this will kind of nosedive and swing back up again, and we would see the indicator continue indicating. So that's basically wonderful. We have until today and tomorrow before this candle closes, so a lot can happen between now and then, but a good push up into this region will definitely show that we are bullish on this. So good news there. Next, I want to jump over to the 4-hour. We have this indicator set up in the Discord as well for those who hold 0.2 per 160 million tokens of Sigma. They can have free access to this indicator applied to anything they want. We've been using the 4-hour indicator on XRP as our kind of short-term play action, and you can see that yesterday we actually had the indicator go off late into 2 days ago, and then you would have had this candle to get out through this green one, and then you would have avoided all this crap. And now this morning, here we are getting our alert back in again saying it's bullish, basically at the same point, so as if though none of this had happened. And so definitely 24 hours is often recommended to wait for this kind of price action and move. And you can see in this scenario here that you would have really basically just been entering into your position exactly where you were, or you would have exited, recognized the breakdown, went and took your shots, and then you would have actually been rewarded now being back to where you were before the indicator had told you to exit. 4 hours, a little bit, back and forth, so you'll get some false positive and negatives. You'll get some good runs. Stop losses are very important to utilize, and as you can see, it doesn't perfectly snipe the bottom, or the top, I should say, and it doesn't perfectly snipe the bottoms either. So you're going to get about 80% of the move. So that's why stop loss, especially when you see parabolic moves like this, stop losses are always important to follow, so you can get out up here before the indicator would have told you in this region. So basically the same. So anyways, that's a tool and an option that we offer for the Sigma community, and no charge unless you own 160 million tokens, which you then get to keep. And if you sell them, you don't get access anymore. But if you keep them, you get to stay in there. So, all right, so that's the story there. Now, one interesting thing I was going over last night with X-Force was a discussion on needing to sweep the lows one more time before we could start doing this test. So what I found was we have like 3 schematics. So let's we got this one. It's a general one. You can see that it kind of ranges, doesn't send a lower low, breaks up to the top of the region and goes from there. But just a rudimentary drawing, not a lot of explanation of local potential moves that could play out, right? So we have that one. Then we found this guy, which gives us the test, right? So it shows us the test level here on how we would play, which is, I argue, is what we are doing right here. Now, yesterday I found an even more complex one that we can now go over, and I wanted to show you something I did here on this chart. So first off, one of the things to note on this is that you'll have your range low, and then you'll sweep below the low, come back up for a test, and then you'll break out of here. So here is XRP, but I've changed it. I removed all of the wicks. So you can actually see in this scenario that we now have the original sign of weakness for B showing up here. Let's see if we can make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so we have the sign of weakness for B, our move up to the top of the region here, and then we came back down and we did another sign of weakness kind of in this zone, then popped off and shot up to the top of the range, did our creek, breaking all the way down, and that creek then does a shakeout here at the lows, okay? And that shakeout already looks as though it's happened with the wicks being gone. We have a violent move back up above this prior peak right here, which we did. And then we have a back test for a higher low against this low, which we did. And now the next move, per this schematic, assuming we do the same thing here, is that we should use this as our new back testing level of 225. So our potential next move would actually take us further up into this region, finding resistance underneath and probably front running that resistance, it looks like, for this top of this range here. So I would expect we'd probably be looking somewhere in this zone, filling some 275, and then we'd have a back test back down again, and then a continuation, and then finally an accumulation back up here at the range highs. So I think moving next play could push us into this higher peak, which would take us above this guy, which would mean that we'd be floating at 270s is what we're expecting and aiming for at this point. So just a basic kind of this setup right here in white is what I would expect that we would see coming along. So liquidity, can we justify that? Well, we've got liquidity up to 209s, 219s. We zoom out even further, get ourselves to a 1 month liquidity chart. And lo and behold, when this decides to load, you'll see we have liquidity all the way up into the 260s and 270s. Solid the whole way up. So I think we could see a very parabolic run now into the 270s. And that would be before we would actually see a pushback back down to support test this rough region, which would knock us back down to 230. So our 4-hour indicator will hopefully help us on that journey, just like we did over here. So this run that we just did here told us to get in early. We didn't get, of course, the bottom, but we got in early, ran up to the top of the region, and then printed and told us to get out before all of this crap. And then you could have just gamed this chop that you could have been in here, and you would have been washing machine a smidge, but you would still be up overall. And now you would have been able to snipe those lows, and we've got ourselves a new 4-hour going again. Again, 160 million Sigma gets you right into the Discord, and you can have free access to any coin you want with this indicator. So finally, jumping over to the Sigma coin, because of this, the Sigma coin has had a parabolic move off the lows because of what we've brought implementation-wise, and now has an ABC completion with a 786 backtest, and now a move to the upside. So you're going to see, my suspicion is that with XRP pushing and Sigma's benefits that it's bringing to the community, we could continue to see Sigma outperform very nicely here as people are starting to feel more confident in their trading prowess. So, so far so good. Structure looks great for Sigma. And now we just need it higher, of course, would be nice. But this is the beginnings development of a wave 1, wave 2. And if we're going to see this type of parabolic move for XRP up to the mid-range level here, right in this zone, we could expect a 270 before we do the back test. That would be glorious. So, and Sigma would be the beneficiary of that. So hopefully that's helpful for this morning. But that's what I'm looking at. And so yeah, bullish thesis not lost. Thought this candle trick was kind of cool. 4-hour indicator tells you it's go time again. You just had to close your eyes and weather that storm. And now here we are with the 3-day still looking bullish, and the candles even turned green. Well, we've talked it back up to $1.91. Pretty impressive, and very, very pleased to see this reversal. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and we'll check in tomorrow.